introduction. My name is Brenda Pozek, as he said. I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing at Cerner. My responsibilities are for our pricing and packaging group that oversees the process of naming our new products and solutions all the way out to our post-release documentation and communication. I have a couple of people from our documentation team here. Our other team, the pricing and packaging group, is a little smaller. I'll talk a little bit about Cerner. I imagine most of you probably don't know much about us because we're really a B2B company. We don't do a lot of consumer advertising or branding. I'll talk a little bit about our team, why we do quality reviews and what that process looks like, and then kind of talk about what Acrolinx has enabled us to do within that and where we're looking next. Cerner, in a nutshell, is really about changing healthcare. We were a founder-led company until our chairman and CEO passed away about 2 years ago, and healthcare is too important to stay the same was always kind of his tagline. Him and his wife had both had lengthy battles with cancer, and kind of gave them even more of a passion to improve the healthcare system. So that's kind of something that, we're a technology company, but I think we all probably first and foremost see ourselves as part of a healthcare company. Cerner today, we have about 29,000 employees across the globe. We've invested about $7 billion in R&D. So our team really supports every product that Cerner sells, which is hundreds of products. So the reason this process is so important to us is because we have to ensure consistency across all of those things. Our clients are primarily hospitals, clinics, labs, different acute care settings, organizations that are looking into population health strategies and community care management, so kind of the whole spectrum of healthcare. From a location perspective, we have 6 campuses in the Kansas City area. That's kind of our headquarters. We have a development center in Malvern, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, and we have a writing team there as well. We also have development centers in Romania and Bangalore, and then we have offices that have consulting and sales support kind of around the world, South America, Europe, et cetera. So we're kind of spread across the whole world. We have a lot of different products that we're supporting, 6 different languages, and adding to that every year, it seems like. So we're kind of managing the content across all of that. Cerner was started in 1979 by our 3 founders. So we had 3 original associates. And you'll see in the presentation and probably how I speak that words have always been really important to Cerner. We don't have employees, we have associates. We don't have products until recently. Now that the industry's kind of swung back to product, we always had solutions. And our clients are clients and not customers, because it's not a transactional relationship. We have relationships that are ongoing with those customers. So in 2003, we had about 5,000 associates. That happens to be when I started at Cerner, and I started as a consultant. So I was at that time and still am a consumer of all of our documentation. But at that time, we had 30 writers for our products, and we had far fewer products at that time as well. So since then, if you fast forward to 2019, we've made a whole bunch of acquisitions, the biggest of which was part of Siemens Health Services, like 3 or 4 years ago. And we have about 65 writers that are part of our team. We have a couple other writers that are in our business units, and then a few teams across Europe for our smaller European sort of niche products. So we've grown the team, but we've not grown it at the pace that we've grown our products and our development organization. I'll also say that we're very early in our content management journey. So if you think of the problems you need to solve in terms of content, there's the content management, the quality, and kind of the UI side of things, or how you expose that content to your customers. We're very early in that, and we kind of solved the quality product first, or the quality problem first. So we're still looking at other tooling to help on the content management with reuse across our documentation. And we're in the middle of a big project of kind of creating a better UI to help our customers navigate the content as well. So a little bit about our team, so you understand the backdrop. We recently went through a project across Cerner called our Workforce Architecture, where we relooked at everybody's jobs, the work that they were doing, and kind of streamlined the different jobs and job descriptions. So out of that exercise, we were the first ones that got to do it. We came out of it with these 3 different roles. So technical writers are kind of the bread and butter of the team. That's probably 3/4 of the team are actually doing the technical writing. Our writing model is we have subject matter experts that are typically strategists or solution designers, and they are the ones that kind of give us the raw content, or our writers will go pull it from different stories or epics in Jira or other places that we maybe have design documentation. And the writers will really take that and massage that content and get it into something that hopefully our end users, our customers or clients can consume. We have documentation architects, and they're really the experts on our tools and processes. So they are also technical writers. They still have a full plate of solution writing, but they also focus on a lot of our strategic initiatives. So as an example, the UI uplift that we're kind of doing on our website and how we expose the content, they're driving that. Jackson, who's here with me this week, was the one that led our Acrolinks implementation. So they focus a lot on kind of our big strategic advancements and helping the tech writers to apply the right processes and editing guidelines. And then finally, we have, and I'll say on the doc architects, we have a dozen. Katie helped me remember that by using an awesome analogy. The doc quality analyst role is the last one, and we have just a few of those folks in Kansas City and in outside Philadelphia. That role is really focused on our style and terminology. So as I've been talking to people this week, it's interesting to hear all the different titles that that role can be, but basically they own coming up with our terminology, our standards. We do have a style guide, so we started the Acrolinks implementation having a style guide already. It is 130 pages long. So we had, being a tech writer at Cerner was not the easiest thing from a tool perspective. We're definitely in the more than 6 or 7 tool bucket. And then we have a pretty big style guide. So getting Acrolinks really helped us to automate a lot of that and make it life easier for our writers. They also do a lot of mentoring with the writers, and that's primarily what I'm going to talk about here with this process, is how they help support. We've had a lot of, with the acquisitions, we've had a lot of new writers that are coming on and having to learn our processes and our terms. We've also had some turnover, just kind of a younger crowd that has had family situations or published books. We've had a lot of different people that have left to go do other things in the writing field. So we tend to have a lot of new writers at any given time, and this process is really meant to support them and provide them with guidance as they're ramping up and learning those processes. So why do we do this? Oh, now I got the issue. Okay. At the core of it, again, since we have over 100 products, I think it's a few hundred actually, it's really important for us to have the standards and the style that are consistent across all of those so that we look like one brand to our clients. So first and foremost, that's kind of the reason for it. We are also a medical device. Since we have software that's used in the medical field, some of our products are even the higher classes of medical devices. So we're very highly regulated. So our bar of kind of where the non-negotiables are is a little bit higher than other companies. And we also have to make sure that we're following processes that are part of our controlled documentation. So again, we have to be a little bit more rigorous on some of those things because of the regulatory atmosphere that we live in. It also helps us create some metrics for team education so we can see where the team is struggling and identify opportunities to coach on writing or consumability of the content or whatever that issue may be. And it also provides a reference that the tech writers can go back to later and kind of review the coaching points that they're given. So what is a quality review? It's really looking at the writer's style and application of the templates as well as the grammar and formatting. There's 2 components to it. So the documentation architect looks at the documentation from a template process perspective, and the doc architect or the doc quality analyst is really looking at it from a formatting, style, content perspective. We don't do this with everybody. We really focus on the newer writers, again, to give them the support and coaching that they need to learn our style and our processes. So none of our doc architects' documentation is reviewed. Our managers and team leads, who tend to be our more senior associates, and then associates who've reached certain scores in the analysis for consecutive quarters are exempt from it as well. So again, it's really a supportive process for the newer writers to help make sure that they're learning those things. And a ratio of this, again, we don't have very many of the doc quality analysts, that senior editor role. And so they're really focused on providing those reviews for about 4 to 7 writers to scale across the team. Before we had Acrolinks, this was all very manual. So we, on a periodic basis, would look at a very limited sampling of documentation, score it manually to determine, okay, how is this person doing? Are they following our standards or not? We would compile that into an Excel. None of it was real time. It was kind of retrospective. So there was no real time interaction with that. That content had been published already. It was out there, and maybe it wasn't the best. So since we've had Acrolinks, our process has been updated quite a bit. When the tech writer first goes into a document that they need to edit, I'll also pause and mention that we don't have a content management system, but we use Atlassian's Confluence Wiki product. This is the Acrolinks connector on the right-hand side. So we've purchased that as kind of a bolt-on that allows Acrolinks to sit right within the tooling that we already use, which was another thing that attracted us to Acrolinks, is it's very easy to plug into our existing tools. So the writer will go in when they're about to edit the page, they'll run an Acrolinks check to kind of assess where is this content in terms of scoring. Then they'll go and actually edit the document. And when they're done with their editing, massaging the content, making whatever updates they need to make, they'll run it again. This particular one made a big leap, so they're in good shape. If it's a score of 80 or above, which seems to be kind of the common baseline that we've been hearing this week, they will go ahead and publish that document. So that's kind of the work steps of the writer. Post-writer, then the doc architect and the doc quality analyst will come back and kind of look at the content that they've published. So they've already gotten the real-time feedback. They've already been able to correct a lot of the quality issues. So this is more just following up. Did they publish it in the right place? Is it in our controlled documentation space? Is the template use correct? Does it look like our documentation should look? So that type of thing. And then we use a scorecard that we've built out in Jira. So this is the doc quality analyst view where they can mark whether that document met the standards. And then this is the doc architect view of that. And as we continue to tweak Acrolinks in terms of adding terminology and adjusting the different rules within there, we expect to skinny down the documentation analyst scorecard. Acrolinks is already scoring that content for us, so we don't really need to focus on the scoring. It's more what you don't see on here is the comments that the doc quality analyst is giving. So, you know, you need, if it's learning materials as an example, the doc quality analyst may say, you know, you need to think about this more from an acute care nurse's perspective and clarify this content here and that type of thing. So there's a lot of other more qualitative feedback that's part of this as well to give them more perspective on ways that they can improve their writing. So that's kind of the individual writer's view of the process. From a management standpoint, we also look across the team. This is Tableau, a view that we have there, so we can identify if there's kind of any cross-team coaching opportunities. And then we're also implementing a process where the DQAs will meet with the writers on a biweekly basis to provide, you know, to talk through if they have questions. Today we do kind of office hours, so that just gives them a touch point. If they have questions on the feedback that they were given, they can attend those office hours and have some more real-time discussion about what they can do to improve. And then the managers, so the writers have a lot of support in terms of their doc architect, their DQA, and then a manager, which may or may not be the same as one of those people. But the managers will also look at scores on an ongoing basis just to identify trends if we're kind of dipping down. Okay, maybe we need to do another education event or something like that. So that's kind of the overview of our process. Now, since we've implemented Acrolinks, when we implemented it, we're a newer customer, so we didn't go live until December of this past year. Before we went live, we ran a check of all of our wiki content, and our average score was a 74. Before that, we really didn't know how good or bad things were, so it was nice to see that it wasn't maybe as bad as we thought, but we definitely have room for improvement. Since then, in about 5 months, we brought it up to 78.2. And that's just really in the course of our ongoing operations. That's not, we don't have currently a big focused effort on bringing up some of those lower quality pages, and that's an effort that we need to plan for with the team. We've run the checks about 129,000 times, 14,000 documents, 20 million words a month, so we're scanning quite a bit. And I think there has been some informal gamification of people scanning, so there's some friendly competition going on there. On the DQA side, we see the DQAs being able to, and Lauren and I were talking about this as well, really, they're not having to give feedback on the basics of writing. They're not talking about commas and things like that. They're talking about the consumability and the usability of our content. So it's really giving them some time to do more meaningful coaching with our writers than just the ins and outs of basic writing. It also gives more consistent feedback, so maybe a DQA would focus more on one aspect of coaching, and so with Acrolinks it gives us a very balanced view across all of our standards. And then the writers really like that they're able to contribute terms directly. So we're a medical company. There's a lot of non-standard terms within our documentation. So as people see those come up, they can kind of suggest that and get that built out in the tool so that it doesn't flag every time. So that's kind of our process. What's next for us? I'll caveat this slide with it doesn't list the 150 things that we've written down this week that we want to go do when we get home. This was our list before, and now it's kind of up in the air. But we're a central-ish writing structure. So we have most of our writers in our team, but we also have writers in marketing. We have content creators in support and consulting in different organizations. So we would really like to work with them. We've already met with them and kind of taken a sample of some of their documentation and ran it through Acrolinks to kind of say, you guys kind of have some issues here. Are you interested in using this tool? And there has been a lot of interest in that, so we're kind of doing the legwork of getting leadership buy-in to expand our license and include those folks. We also want to use it in new tools, so our help documentation currently sits in wiki pages, and we want to, as we're doing some work on our core platform, really incorporate that into the applications. And so we want to look at using Acrolinks to check that content via GitHub. So that's one of the integrations that we're looking at going forward. Translation cost was an area that we have an in-house translation team, and they manage their money to the penny. So we want to get with them now that we've been live for a while and determine if having more consistent terminology has helped us reduce our translation cost at all. Or translation volume. They don't just serve our engineering group, they serve the whole company, and there's always more work than they can ever do, so it's kind of giving them back some time if we're able to streamline what we're doing. As I mentioned before, there's still some refining we need to do around terminology and the rules and Acrolinks. I think we also, hearing how large our style guide is comparatively, maybe want to skinny that down a little bit where we can. And then, as I mentioned also, we want to work through some of the high opportunity content. So as Laura mentioned, where should we focus using some of the data and analytics that's included with Acrolinks to help focus our attention on the things that need our help the most, and then streamline across the company. So we're looking at content management tooling. We're looking at that UI uplift and creating a more personalized experience for our clients as they access our documentation, versus having them have to wade through all of our wiki content and sort of find things. So we have a lot of opportunity to go, but we feel like we've really moved the meter in the quality space, and now have some more bandwidth to go look at some of those other angles of how we're exposing the content and advanced analytics on how are our clients using it. So that is it. What questions do you have?